to everyone. I am Dr. VNSR Venkateswara Rao, working as an Associate Professor from the Department of Chemistry in Institute of Aeronautical Engineering, Hyderabad. So today I would like to give the topic on mainly on environmental pollution. In this environmental pollution, mainly we discuss about the air pollution and water pollution. So first of all, we see what are the topics covered in today's air and water pollutions. So first of all, we discuss about the definition of the pollution, pollutant, nothing but and also contaminant. After that, we see classification of the pollution. Then we give the introduction to the pollution. Next, we see what are the causes, effects, examples, and control measures of air pollution and water pollution individually. Okay, so first of all, we see definition of the pollution. So first of all, pollution is nothing but any contaminant which causes the adverse change in the environment is called as a pollution, and that contaminant is known as a pollutant. So that means any contaminant, nothing but a substance which causes the opposite effect to the environment. So that means against to the environmental conditions which can destroy the conditions of the coming out from the environment. So such type of the condition is nothing but a pollution, and the substance which is caused the particular process is nothing but a pollutant. So that's why this is called as a contaminant. So pollution can take from the form of a chemical substances or energy such as noise pollution, heat pollution, or light pollution. So that means pollutants, the components of the pollution can be either foreign substances or energies or naturally occurring contaminants. Okay. So next we see what are the types of the pollution, nothing but classification. So these are mainly 4 types of the pollution. So first one is air pollution, and second one is the water pollution, and third one is the soil or land pollution, and fourth one is noise or sound pollution. Okay, so these main 4 classifications takes place in the pollutions. So first of all, we give the introduction to the air pollution. So any contaminant which causes the adverse change in the air quality, is called air pollution, and the contaminant is known as the air pollutant. So these pollutants are mainly classified into 2 categories. One is primary pollutants. These are also called as point source, and second one is nothing but secondary pollutants. These are called as a non-point sources. So mainly these air pollutants classified into 2 types. One is the primary pollutant, and the second one is the secondary pollutant. So primary pollutant is nothing but point sources which is visible to naked eye, whereas secondary pollution which is not visible to naked eye. That means invisible to naked eye. So this is called as a classification of air pollutants. Now let us see what are the differences between the primary pollutants and secondary pollutants with respect to examples. So primary pollutant and secondary pollutants. So pollutants that are emitted directly from the identifiable sources are produced by both the natural events and human activities. So those pollutants are nothing but a primary pollutants. Whereas pollutants that are produced in the atmosphere when certain chemical reactions takes place among the primary pollutants. That means in the production of the secondary pollutants, involvement of the primary pollutants. So that are nothing but a secondary pollutants. So these primary pollutants are also called as a point source. What is the meaning of point source? It will be one can see the pollution source with naked eye, whereas the secondary pollutants are called as a non-point source. That means one cannot see the pollution source with the naked eye. Already we discussed in the previous slide. So it is formed after a single or series of reactions happened in the atmosphere. So that means it is mainly caused by some of the series of chemical reactions. So what are the examples for the primary pollutants? Nothing but dust storms and volcanic eruptions, emission from the vehicles and industries. So the sources of these emission of the pollutants nothing but carbon oxides, that means carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, and sulfur oxide derivatives nothing but sulfur dioxide and sulfur trioxide, and nitrogen oxide derivatives nitrous oxide, nitrogen monoxide, nitric dioxide N2O3, and nitrogen dioxide and nitrogen pentoxide N2O5, and particulate matter, hydrocarbons, etc. That means these primary pollutants involves the derivatives of carbon, sulfur, and nitrogen. Okay, what are the examples for the secondary pollutants? Nothing but sulfuric acid, nitric acid, carbonic acid, and peroxyacetyl nitrate. So simply this is called as a PAN, PAN, PAN means peroxyacetyl nitrate. So now we see what are the causes of the air pollution. There are mainly different sources, nothing but natural sources and man-made anthropogenic sources. So nothing but these are mainly classified into depends upon the availability of these air sources. One is natural and second one is man-made or anthropogenic sources. So natural sources, what are the examples? Nothing but volcanic eruption, forest fires, pollen grains of flowers, and etc. All of this comes under category of the natural sources of the air pollution. So that means these are the one of the causes. And the second cause is nothing but man-made and are anthropogenic sources. Man-made are anthropogenic sources. What are the examples? Nothing but thermal power plants, burning of fossil fuels like carbon, petrol, and coming to the chemical industries, and coming to the chemical industries. So these are the examples of a man-made or anthropogenic sources. So second causes of a air pollution. So now we see what are the effects of the air pollutants. So first we discuss about the on human beings. So our respiratory system has a number of mechanisms that help in protecting us from air pollution. So the air in our nose filters out large particles. The sticky mucus in the lining of the upper respiratory tract captures the smaller particles and dissolves some gaseous pollutants. When pollutants irritate the upper respiratory system, sneezing and coughing expel contaminated air and mucus. So, prolonged smoking or exposure to air pollutants can overload or break down these natural defenses, causing or contributing to diseases such as lung cancer, asthma, chronic bronchitis, and emphysema. So, elderly people, infants, pregnant women, and people with heart disease, asthma, or other respiratory diseases are especially vulnerable to air pollution. So, cigarette smoking is responsible for the greatest exposure to the carbon monoxide, nothing but carbon derivatives. So, exposure to the air containing even 0.001%, even 0.001% of carbon monoxide for several hours can cause collapse, coma, and even death. In sometimes it causes the death also. That means as carbon monoxide remains attached to the hemoglobin in the blood for a long time, it accumulates and reduces the oxygen carrying capacity of the blood. So this is the main reason when you spend so much of the time with carbon monoxide environment, it causes the what happens, the carbon monoxide remains attached to the hemoglobin. It is one of the compound present in the blood. Because of this substance, the blood shown in the red color, so it will be combined with that hemoglobin for a long time and accumulates and reducing the oxygen carrying capacity of the blood. So that means there is no supply of the oxygen by blood in our human body if you spend so much of time with carbon oxide derivatives present in the environment. So this impairs perception and thinking, slow reflexes, and causes headaches, drowsiness, dizziness, and nausea. So carbon monoxide in heavy traffic causes headaches, drowsiness, and blurred vision. So these are the main effects on the human beings because of the carbon monoxide. And next one, sulfur derivatives. So sulfur dioxide irritates respiratory tissues. Chronic exposure causes a condition similar to the bronchitis. It also reacts with water, oxygen, and other material in the air to form sulfur containing acids. The acids can become attached to the particles which when inhaled are very corrosive to the lung. So that means if sulfur is reacts with the water and oxygen, what happens, initially it produces the sulfurous acid, after that it produces sulfuric acids. These are very very strong acids and acts as strong oxidizing agents. So next one, nothing but effects of the nitrogen oxide derivatives. So nitrogen oxides, especially nitrogen dioxide, can irritate the lungs, aggravate asthma or chronic bronchitis, and increase susceptibility to respiratory infections such as influenza and are common colds. So influenza are common plus both are coming due to the nitrogen oxide derivatives present in the air. Suspended particles, aggravative bronchitis, and asthma. Exposure to these particles over a long period damages lung tissue and contributes to the development of chronic respiratory disease and cancer. So many volatile organic compounds such as benzene and formaldehyde and toxic particulates such as lead or cadmium, these are nothing but heavy metals, can cause mutations, reproductive problems, or cancer. Inhaling ozone, a component of photochemical smoke, causes the coughing, chest pain, breathlessness, and irritation of the eye, nose, and the throat. So these are the main effects by the volatile organic compounds. Now we see the effects of the air pollutants on the plants. So when some gaseous pollutants enter leaf pores, they damage the leaves or crop plants. So chronic exposure of leaves to air pollutants can break down the waxy coating that helps prevent the excessive water loss and leads to the damage from the diseases, pests, drought, and frost. So such exposure interferes with photosynthesis and plant growth, reduces nutrient uptake, and causes the leaves to turn yellow, brown, or drop off altogether. So this is very very important in the case of the plants, photosynthesis. So because of the photosynthesis, the plants can prepare their own food material through the plant, through their leaves. Because of the green color shade of the leaves of the plant, they can absorb the light or heat from the solar radiations, and they can prepare this their own food. So that is the process of photosynthesis. That means the entire process. So it is one of the chemical reaction. This chemical reaction takes place in the presence of light. So that's why this is nothing but a photochemical reaction, and preparation of their own food, that is nothing but a preparation, that is comes under category of the chemical terminology synthesis, and this synthesis is carried out by the in the presence of a light. So that's why this is called as photosynthesis. Mainly because of the air pollutants, it can affect the photosynthesis of the plants when the color of the leaves of the plants changes to brown or red color from green color. So, at a higher concentration of sulfur dioxide, majority of the flower buds become stiff and hard in nature. So, they eventually fall from the plants as they are unable to flower. So, that means prolonged exposure to high levels of several air pollutants from smelters, coal burning, power plants, and industrial units, as well as from cars and trucks, can damage trees and other plants. So now we see an aquatic life. So nothing but burning of fossil fuels creates carbon oxides, nitrogen oxides, and sulfur oxides. That means it produces the three types of the fossil fuel derivatives. One is carbon derivatives, nitrogen derivatives, and sulfur derivatives also, and solid particulate matter. So this will affects the so much of effect on aquatic life. So air pollutants like carbon dioxide mixing up with rainwater and absorbing in ocean water cause high acidity. That means the value of the pH will be very very low, because pH should be inversely proportional to concentration of H plus n. So that means according to definition of pH, pH is defined as a reciprocal of the logarithm of the H plus n concentration, or negative logarithm of the H plus n concentration. That means when high acidity means low pH. Okay. So the acidic nature of aquatic system causes the damage to the phytoplankton and zooplankton, fish that are present and the entire marine ecosystem. So over the last 250 years, oceans have absorbed 530 billion tons of the carbon dioxide, triggering a 30% increase in the ocean acidity. So higher seawater acidity hurts the marine life. Higher seawater acidity hurts the marine life, especially species that build shells or skeletons, such as oysters, mussels, and coral. So these creatures need calcium carbonate to grow and repair their shells and skeletons. So acidic water softens or destroys these structures. Now we see the effects of air pollutants on materials. So every year, air pollutants cause damage on worth billions of the rupees. Air pollutants break down exterior paint on cars and houses. All around the world, air pollutants have discolored, irreplaceable monuments, historic buildings, and marble statues, etc. For example, if you can take as one of the world wonder present in the India, so that is nothing but Taj Mahal is turning brownish yellow due to air pollution and aesthetic rights. And finally, we discuss about the one of the important air pollutant that is nothing but photochemical smog. So, photochemical smog is a type of secondary pollutant that occurs due to the reaction about nitrogen oxides, volatile organic compounds, and sunlight. So, the main product in this reaction is nothing but peroxyacetyl nitrate, and it is comes under category of the secondary pollutants, that is it is invisible to naked eye. So peroxyacetyl nitrates, also known as acyl peroxynitrates, APN, are PAMs. So that means are powerful respiratory and eye irritants present in the photochemical smog. So this is the structure of the peroxyacetyl nitrate. It contains the carbonyl compound derivatives and nitrogen linked with the oxygen derivatives, both positive and negative because of the bond migration. And this is the structure of the peroxyacetyl nitrate, simply abbreviated as PAN, PAN, PAN. So many volatile organic compounds such as benzene and formaldehyde and toxic particulates such as lead, cadmium can cause mutations, reproductive problems, or cancer. That means inhaling ozone, a component of the photochemical smog, causes the coughing, chest pain, breathless, and irritation of the eye, nose and throat. So ponds dissolves more readily in water than the ozone. So that means they are lychromatous and causing eye irritation at concentrations of only a few parts per the billion. That means it is very present in the very low levels. That means ppb, parts per billion. So parts per billion means nearby 10 power minus 9 parts per million. Next, parts per billion. So that means 10 power minus 9 parts. At higher concentrations, they cause extensive damage to the vegetation. Both ponds and their chlorinated derivatives are said to be mutagenic, as they can be a factor causing skin cancer. So now, based on the effects of air pollutants on various categories, nothing but on human beings, on plants, on materials, and by taking secondary pollutants, nothing but peroxyacetyl nitrate, it is need to control the that air pollutants from air pollution. So now we see what are the control measures for controlling of air pollutants present in the environment. So this is about the control measures of air pollution. So first one, adopting eco-friendly technologies for the prevention of air pollutants, and afforestation helps in controlling the air pollution. Thermal power station and other coal energy based industries should use low sulfur coal, and desulfurization techniques should be used to remove the coal, such as washing or with the help of bacteria. So, gaseous pollutants should be controlled at source itself by using physical absorption on porous solid materials such as charcoal, silica gel, fuels, earth, etc. Incomplete combustion of fossil fuels produce more carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, hydrocarbons, particulate matter. Hence, fossil fuels should burn at optimal conditions of oxygen and temperature. So particulate matter should be bring into control at source itself by using any one of the methods like cyclone separators, bag house filters, wet scrubber, and electrostatic precipitator methods. So that is about the control measures of a air pollution. Now we see the second pollution, nothing but water pollution. So hydrosphere in the universe contains water in the form of oceans, rivers, lakes, tanks, and many other water sources. So water sources in the world of mainly two types. They are marine water bodies and freshwater bodies. So water is a good solvent for many substances. Because of this property, water cannot exist in its pure form at many parts of the world. So now we see introduction to the water pollution. So water pollution is mainly because of the sewage industrial disposable effluents. Any contaminant which causes adverse change in the water quality is called as water pollution. So first of all, we see the water pollution, nothing but chemical examination of the water test because of the pH of the measurement of the water and biological oxygen demand BOD and chemical oxygen demand COD, dissolved oxygen conductivity are some of the chemical tests to find the stage of pollution of the water. So these are very very important. First one is pH and second one is biological oxygen demand, simply BOD, and third one chemical oxygen demand COD, and fourth one is dissolved oxygen DO, and fifth one is conductivity. So these are the important parameters to find out the pollution of the water. So first one pH. The value of pH gives the degree of acidity or alkalinity of polluted water. So determination of pH is important in calculating the coagulant, nothing but the thick or thin dose. And the second one is nothing but biological oxygen demand, simply BOD. It is defined as the quantity of oxygen utilized by microorganisms at a temperature of 20 degrees centigrade. So generally measured for 5 days. When unwanted materials pollute water, naturally the oxygen content gets reduced and that water becomes not fit for consumption either by human beings or animals or plants. Next one, living organisms require water with some quantity of sustainable oxygen in it. So that means that the oxygen is necessary for living organisms is generally called as BOD. So BOD is nothing but biological chemical oxygen demand. So if there is reduction in oxygen content of the water, it becomes unfit for biological consumption because there is a change in BOD. Next one is nothing but DO. So DO is called as dissolved oxygen. So the amount of oxygen dissolved from in water at a particular temperature and atmospheric pressure is known as dissolved oxygen. So in polluted waters, dissolved oxygen is the factor which determines whether the biological changes are carried out by aerobic, nothing but in the presence of air needing oxygen, or by anaerobic, oxygen not required. That means absence of air microorganisms. For example, 5 to 8 milligrams of the dissolved oxygen is required for most of the species or fishes. So it is very very important to the aquatic life. So they require minimum 5 to 8 milligram per liter or 5 to 8 ppm of dissolved oxygen present in the water. So for the peaceful life of the fishes present in the water. And the next one is chemical oxygen demand, simply abbreviated as COD. So this test is conducted to determine the pollution strength of the seaweed. Potassium dichromate and potassium permanganate used as a oxidizing agents. These two are the strong oxidizing agents. That's why these are helpful to determine the COD, nothing but chemical oxygen demand. So the formula for potassium dichromate is nothing but K2Cr2 O7 and potassium permanganate is KMnO4. These two are the formulas for potassium dichromate and potassium permanganate. So this is causing agents. So nothing but bacteria, virus, protozoa that enter water from domestic sewage and animal wastes. And next one, water soluble inorganic chemicals, acids, salts, and compounds of toxic metals such as lead, mercury can make water unfit to drink, harm fishes and other aquatic life. Also nitrate, phosphate compounds dissolve in water that can cause the excessive growth of algae which then die and decay, depleting dissolved oxygen in water and killing fish killing fish living organisms. So, water soluble organic chemicals, oil, gasoline. A type of oil is obtained from the petroleum, that is nothing but gasoline. Pesticides, detergents, and many other water soluble chemicals that threaten human health and harm to the fish materials. And the final one, heat. The large quantity of the water is heated when it is used in the cooling 2 hours. When it is used to the next one is the heat. Large quantity of the water is heated when it is used in the cooling towers of thermal power plants. When this hot water is discharged into the nearby water bodies, it causes an increase in temperature. And next one is sewage. Sewage is the wastewater from municipal and industrial area where there is a human habitation. Waste materials such as human urine and feces that is carried out away from the homes and other buildings in a system of pipes is known as the sewage. In nature water, Kimball in 1975 classified pollution in mainly three types. They are domestic water pollution. First one is nothing but domestic water pollution. Next one agricultural water pollution, and third one eutrophication. So first of all, we discuss about the domestic water pollution. Sewage is a part of domestic water pollution. Domestic sewage not only contains unwanted waste materials, but it is also infested with harmful bacteria, viruses, etc. So these are responsible for causing diseases in animals and human beings. And next one, agricultural water pollution. Water required for plants for its growth, major irrigation, minor irrigation, sprinkler irrigation, drip irrigation, lift irrigation carry waste substances and causing water pollution in addition to the utilization of fertilizer and pesticides. So agricultural water pollution leads to the eutrophication and water bloom. Now we discuss about the eutrophication. So eutrophication is the ecosystem response to the addition of artificial or natural substances such as nitrates and phosphates through fertilizers or sewage to an aquatic system. Eutrophication also occurs when freshwater bodies like ponds, lakes, pools, which contain organic waste material. Because of that, the freshwater ponds and lakes get polluted. Eutrophication is a type of water pollution. So, eutrophication was recognized as a pollution problem in European and North American lakes and reservoirs in the mid of the 20th century. So, since then, it has become more widespread. Surveys showed that 54% of lakes in Asia are eutrophic. In Europe, nearby 53%, and in North America, 48%, in South America, 41%, and in Africa, 28%. So overall world, the Asia content having the 54% of the eutrophication pollution. And now we see what are the effects of the water pollution. So first one, ecological effects of the eutrophication. Excessive nutrients in water bodies promote plant growth, which leads to a drop in water quality. Lack of oxygen for shellfish and marine life get into the trouble, causing a drop in their population. Decrease in the recreational and aesthetic value of water bodies. Health problems when it occurs in drinking water reserves. Coral reef will decline and decreased biodiversity. Changes in species composition and dominance and toxicity effects, increase of the toxic phytoplankton species, decreases in water transparency, nothing but to improve the turbidity of the water, color, smell, and water treatment problems, dissolved oxygen depletion. And next we see the effects of the water pollution on water bloom. So it is defined as a growth of algae at or near to the surface of the body of water, such as a pond. So this is another kind of water pollution because of the presence of blue-green algae. This is abbreviated as BGA. So blue-green algae are microscopic organisms that can be considered as simple aquatic plants that occur naturally in habitats such as marine waters, rivers, lakes, damp soil, tree trunks, hot springs, and snow. They can vary considerably in shape, color, and shape. They usually are present in the low numbers. Blue-green algae can become very abundant in warm, shallow, undisturbed surface water that preserves a lot of sunlight. When this occurs, they can form blooms that discolor the water or produce floating rafts or scums on the surface of the water. Blue in color or blue-green water, this is unsuitable for drinking. This type of the pollution of freshwater bodies by blue-green algae is generally called water bloom. Next one, industrial water pollution. Now we see what are the effects of the industrial water pollution. So many industries discharge waste materials containing harmful chemicals. Such industrial waste are called effluents. So these are called nothing but effluents coming out from the industry. Rivers get polluted when the river water is polluted by mixing of chemical substances released by the petrochemical industries, paper industries, chemical industries, etc. So the river Godavari is polluted because of the effluents released by the paper industry. So it affects the entire water ecosystem, causing enormous damage to the fishes, prawns, and freshwater animals. For example, we see the mini-meta disease and fluorosis. Mini-meta disease is a neurological syndrome caused by severe mercury poisoning. That means this mini-meta disease causing by the one of the important chemical element, nothing but mercury. So symptoms involve ataxia, numbness in the hands and feet, general muscle weakness, narrowing of the field of vision, and damage to the hearing and speech. These are the main effects caused by the mini-meta disease. In extreme cases, insanity, paralysis, coma, and death follow within weeks of the onset of symptoms. Mini-meta disease was first discovered in Minamata city in Japan in 1956. It was caused by the release of methyl mercury from the Sisu corporations of chemical factory, which continued from 1932 to 1968, nearby 32 years. That means this highly toxic chemical bioaccumulated in shellfish and fish in Minamata Bay, which when eaten by the local peoples resulted in the mercury poisoning. While cat, dog, pig, and human deaths continued over more than 30 years, the government and company did little to prevent the pollution. And next one is nothing but fluorosis. People suffer from a disease called fluorosis after consuming water containing fluorine. This is very one of the important element present in the chemistry. So that is nothing but most electronegative element. So that is called fluorine. That means the fluorosis is mainly caused by the one of the important element, nothing but fluorine, and it can be represented by F minus because of the most electronegative element for sufficiency in a long time. So quantity of the fluoride in the water is only 1 ppm according to WHO standard, World Health Organization standards. If it is 1 to 1.5 ppm, India standards. So, what are the diseases caused by the fluorosis? Back pain and cannot easily bend. Joints are stiffened, and so movement of the joints is impaired. So, teeth are the rust affected, and a brown coating appears on the enamel of teeth, giving bad appearance. Persons with fluorosis can erect freely. So, this is about the effects of the fluorosis. And now we see, because of the so many effects of the water pollution, how to control this water pollution. Now we see these are the control measurements of the water pollution. Drinking water should be boiled, cooled, and then used. So this is very important in domestic water supply. Disinfection of drinking water should be done by using chemicals like bleaching powder. This is nothing but a chlorination process. Pesticides and insecticides should be prevented from nearby use of the water lakes, ponds, and pools. So drainage water should not be allowed to mix with the drinking water. Drainage system should be maintained properly. So chlorination process is to be adapted for drinking water. For 1 liter of the water, nearby 30 to 40 milligrams of the chlorine is to be added to get perfect disinfection. It kills bacteria, fungi, fungal spores, and other microbes also. So this is the ratio, very important. For 1 liter of the water, we require 30 to 40 milligrams of the chlorine. So then only applicable to chlorine to remove the bacteria present in the water, nothing but by the process of chlorination. And next treatment is nothing but reverse osmosis. That means according to title you understand, it is reverse to the osmosis. That means osmosis is the process when the water flows from lower concentration to higher concentration when both are separated by a semi-permeable membrane. As the reverse osmosis, the water moves from contaminated water to pure water. That means higher concentration to lower concentration when both are separated by a semi-permeable membrane. So that means and UV treated. UV treated means ultraviolet treated and ozonized water. Reverse osmosis, UV treated, ultraviolet treated, and ozonized water is one of the established drinking water technology which helps in providing the safe drinking water. Today's most probably each and everyone used this RO technology. All the municipalities should equip the technology to provide safe drinking water. So this is about the control measures of water pollution and supplying of the pure drinking water to the domestic supply by municipalities. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.